Yes, peace, shalom. This is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. Want to go over something very brief, real quick. Giving honor and praise unto Yah, the creator of heaven and earth. The main reason why this here is being presented is about from an Israelite to the people in a debate type of world about the Hebrew and the Kemet debate. First and foremost, certain things have already been stated that the Bible is plagiarized from Egypt. Let's go over a couple of reasons, common sense wise, on how that's not the case. The geography between Egypt and Israel is different. The Nile River flows north, the actual only river in the world that does. The Jordan River flows south. The Nile overflows, giving the land of Egypt irrigation. The Jordan River does not. The Jordan River is also referred to as, because it leads into what they refer to as the Dead Sea, which a lot of the Israelites in Israel refer to as the Live Sea, where people go in there for the salt and the minerals in there that sea has. The Nile River doesn't contain that. So it's not a knock on any of the geography or the usage of the waters, because neither the Israelites nor the Egyptians made either the Nile or the Jordan River. You understand? Next thing to be noted and understood is that the scriptures itself speaks about where its location was. It says the Garden of Eden, and out of it, four rivers went out. And those rivers are today referred to now as the Tigris, the Euphrates, the White Nile, and the Blue Nile. You understand? So we're talking about the area from what they now call southern Ethiopia going all the way into northern Iraq. That's where the Gan Eden, or where the original civilization was in that particular land. This all being one landmass actually before what they refer to as colonization. Another issue to speak on very briefly is the fact that the scriptures itself is not from Egypt. As stated, the geography is different, the culture is different. When you go into the book of Tacitus, book 5, he speaks about the difference between the culture of the Israelites and the culture of the Egyptians. So therefore, the understanding of saying that one borrowed from the other is actually incorrect. The linguistics of Egypt and the linguistics of the Israelites are two different things. What they refer to as the hieroglyph, mind you, the word hieroglyph is actually a Greek word. Hieroglyph, which means, or hiero, which means sacred, and glyph, which means writing. So hieroglyph simply just means sacred writing. But what they refer to as the Mentunetta, that language itself is identical only to Egypt itself. You understand? And it became what they refer to as a completely dead language by the time we get into the 4th century AD. The Hebrew language, now, you find Hebrew inscriptions when you go into the book Hebrewisms of West Africa. You find Hebrew inscriptions in Mauritania and Algeria and Tunisia and so forth and so on. So if we were to sit there and go by the same premise of where your artifacts or where's your writings and so forth and so on, we can sit there and go all the way around the clock, back and forth, back and forth. Now, let's understand something else that's different between the culture of the Egyptians and the culture of the Israelites. In the culture of the Egyptians, they had what they refer to as the principles of Ma'at. And Ma'at, it basically is saying, I have not violated the deceased, I have not stolen, I have not lied, I have not swindled, I have not caused anyone to cry, so forth and so on. Some of the things that the Torah has is not in what they refer to as the principles of Ma'at. Ma'at doesn't have any sacred days, set aside days, holy days that are customary among the Egyptian culture. And it wouldn't, because Egyptian history showed you that each kingdom or each dynasty that it was referred to later decided to do their own particular thing. So there really was in ancient Egypt no one set culture all the way around national wise between Egypt all the way, outside of the fact that they had their local gods and their, their deities, if you will. In what they refer to as the principles of Ma'at, they don't have a diet. The Bible in Leviticus 11 has a diet. The Bible speaks about the holy days, the sacred days that the Israelites have. And that's in Leviticus 23. So there is culturally wise, a great distinction between the two. So far we got the culture, the linguistics, the geography, and the rites. Now, when I say rites, I mean RITES, which means basically you're saying the customs of the people were different. The only similarity between the two people is that when you read in history, you find out they were both people of color. But that still does not make you one and the same, regardless, when you get right down into it. You understand? When they had what they referred to as the Manetho record, you read about the kings of the 25th dynasty. You understand? Those kings such as by name Shabaka, Sabteku, Tirharka, Piankhy, so forth and so on. Those were Cushite or Ethiopian rulers that were ruling in Egypt. The point of me getting into that is just to simply show that the people that were in Ethiopia and the people that were in Egypt were two different people. They were not all one and the same people. You understand? Because if they were, by default, then when Egypt fell, then Ethiopia should have fell. But when you know history, you know good and well Alexander, who ruled in Egypt, he tried to defeat Candace, who was also known as Balkis, the queen of the Ethiopians, but he could never make it to get into there past Elephantine Island. You understand? So Alexander had to wind up turning back. So even those people in those days and times knew that what we refer to today as Ethiopia and what we refer to today as Egypt is not one and the same. You understand? When you go into, as stated in other videos, the writings of Kamose of Dynasty 17, he made that point emphatically clear. You understand? Why do I sit between the Asiatic in the north and the Ethiopian in the south? When you read about the wars that Senusret the first and Senusret the third had with the people of Ethiopia, you know good and well they were not one and the same. Now, some people might think what I'm presenting is some coon type of stuff, Sambo type of stuff to try to show a disunity with black people, but such is not the case. What it is basically is the fact that when you read history, you will understand and know certain things. For instance, the fact that you had King Tut, or also known as Tutankhamun, and he had the Ethiopians bound as captives. You understand? Even upon the walls of his chamber, he has images of the Ethiopians as captives. So that right there just goes to show good and well that they were not, pardon me, all one in the same people. All right, now I want to sit there and show from what I got right here. This here is a picture. When you notice what you see right here, where my thumb just touched, this here is a picture from the tomb of King Tut defeating the Ethiopians. He got dogs attacking the people. So did King Tut think that they were all one and the same people? Absolutely not. So this is not to sit there and show a disunity among all black people. It just basically is just a point of reference. Another thing to point out, when they try to sit there and state that the Bible came out of Egypt, emphatically to get into some history, one of the oldest records of the Bible is the Septuagint, which was written in the land of Egypt by the Israelites, and that was commissioned by Ptolemy II. Because you had Alexander the First, or Alexander that is, then you had Ptolemy the First, then you had Ptolemy the Second. So I want to let it be known in history and understood that when who they refer to as Alexander the Great in history was literally in the Greek writings or in the Greek history Alexander the Third. All right. But that's a whole nother subject about the Greek history and so forth and so on. But by the time now we get to the era of Ptolemy II of Egypt, he commissioned the people who are the Israelites to write what we now know as the Septuagint. And in the Septuagint, it speaks about the scattering of the children of Israel throughout one land to the other. It speaks about the children of Israel actually being slaves in Egypt and being delivered out of Egypt. Here's my question to anybody into the Kemetic science. If the Egyptians had some kind of rank, why did they not write anything to refute what the Israelites were writing in the Septuagint in Egypt? Shalom. Peace to all of the brothers who helped me.